Hello everyone. So today we'll be doing chapter 10, which is struggles for equality. So in this book you've read about people like Anta, Dansaris, Milani and Swapna. The thread that connects all these lives is that they have been treated unequally. What do people what do people do when they face such inequalities? History is full of examples of persons who have come together to fight against inequality and for issues of justice and for fighting inequality. Do you recall the story of Rosa Parks in chapter 1? Do you remember the photo essay on the women's movement in chapter 5? In this chapter you learn about some of the ways in which people have struggled against inequality. Okay. As you've already read in this book, the Indian Constitution recognizes all Indians as equals before law and states that no person can be discriminated against because of their religion, sex, caste, or whether they are rich or poor. All adults in India have the equal right to vote during elections, and the power and this power over the this power over the ballot box has been used by people to elect and or replace the representatives by this feeling of equality that the ballot box provides because the vote of one person is good as that of another does not extend to most people's life. As you have read, the increasing privatization of health services and the neglect of government hospitals have made it difficult for most poor people like Kanta, Hakim Sheikh, and Aman to get good quality health care. These people do not have resources to afford expensive private health services. Similarly, the man who sells juice does not have the resources to compete with all the major companies who sell branded drinks through expensive advertising. Swapna does not have sufficient resources to grow cotton and so has to take a loan from the trader to grow her crop. This forces her to sell her cotton at a low price. Milani, like the billion domestic workers across country, is forced to endure the insult and hardship of working as a domestic help because she has no resources to set up something on her own. Poverty and the lack of resources continue to be a key reason why so many people's life in India are highly unequal. On the other hand, the Ansaris were discriminated against not because they did not have the resources. In fact, despite having the money to pay the required rent, they were not able to find an apartment for over a month. People were reluctant to lease them an apartment because of their religion. Similarly, the main reason for the teachers forced Om Prakash Balmiki to sweep the schoolyard was because he was a Dalit. You've read about the women who do who do is of that the work women do is often considered of less value than that done by men. All of these persons are discriminated against primarily because of their social and cultural background, as well as this because they are women. Discrimination on the basis of persons' religion, caste, and sex is another significant factor for why people are treated unequally in India. Often, poverty and lack of dignity and respect for certain communities and groups come together in such powerful ways that it is difficult to identify where one aspect of inequality ends with another begins. As you read, Dalit, Adivasis, Muslim girls drop out of school in large numbers. This is a combined outcome of poverty, social discrimination, and lack of good quality school facilities for these communities. In India, it is the case that the poor consist of a majority of members of Dalit, Adivasis, and Muslim communities and are often women. According to the 2001 census data, women from 48% of the population, Muslims from 13% of the population, and Dalits from 16% and Adivasis 8%. So, we are saying that, from the 48% of population, um, 40% census data of 2001, women form the 48%, whoever, percentage of women who are the, which is 48, out of which Muslims form 13, Dalit 16, and Adivasis 8%. Can you think of one person in your family, community, village, town whom you respect because they fight for equality and justice? So, can you think, of if anybody has been treated unequally, and can you think of a person who's fought it against the inequality they've faced? Struggles of equality. Throughout the world, in every community, village, city, and town, you will find that there are some people who are known and respected because of their fight for equality. Have these people may have stood up against an act of discrimination that they faced or which they witnessed, or they may be well respected because they treat all persons with dignity and are therefore trusted and called upon to resolve issues in the communities. They are treated that even if sometimes, there's a fight in the community, they are called upon to resolve it. Often, some of these persons become more widely recognized because they have the support of the support or represent large numbers of people who have united to address a particular issue of inequality. In India, there are several struggles in which people have come together to fight for issues that they believe are important. For example, in chapter 5, you've read about the methods used by the women's movement to raise issues of inequality. The Tava Matsya Sangh in Madhya Pradesh is another example of people coming together to fight for an issue. There are many struggles, such as those among BD workers, who make those cigarettes. It's called cigarettes, the brown covered ones which people smoke, and fisher folk, agricultural laborers, slum dwellers, and each group is struggling for justice in its own way. There are so many attempts to form cooperatives or other collective ways by which people can have more control over resources. Tawa Matsya Sangh, when dams are built or forest areas declared sanctuaries or for animals, thousands of people are displaced. Whole villages are uprooted and people are forced to go and build new homes and start new lives elsewhere. Most of these people are poor in urban areas too. Bastis in which poor people live are often uprooted. Some of them are relocated to areas outside the city. Their work as well as their children's schooling is severely disturbed because of the distance from the outskirts of the city to these locations. You know, this displacement of people and communities is a problem that has become quite widespread in our country. So, the reservoir of the Tawa River. So, this is the river where I think a reservoir, which reservoir is to collect water, basically. A reserve, matlab extra, they keep reserve. We'll study about their story also. People usually come together to fight against this. There are several organizations across the country fighting in the rights of the displaced. Displaced, matlab they've been moved, when they have to form a dam or a forest, areas have to be cleared. For example, if people are living, or if there's any, mostly people are living and they belong to the tribal family, or maybe Adivasis, or just the village people who are, displaced, matlab they're moved from their own present location to other location. So they are displaced and all their livelihood, there's some source of income there, everything has been till now been based from the place they are being displaced. So you can imagine how life, completely, you know is disturbed for them. There are several organizations across the country fighting for the rights of the displaced. In this chapter, we'll read about Tava Matsya Sangh, a federation of fisher cooperatives. So Tava Matsya Sangh is an organization which is fighting for the rights of displaced forest dwellers in the Satpura forest in Madhya Pradesh. So Tava is of course the river which is you know, in Madhya Pradesh, and there's a forest of Satpura forest where people have been displaced from where, okay? Originating in the Mahadev hills of Chindwara district. The Tawa flows through Beetul before joining the Narmada in Hoshangabad. So Tawa River joins Narmada in Hoshangabad. The Tawa Dam began to be built in 1958 and was completed in 1978. So it took 20 years to build that dam on Tawa River, which originates in Mahadev Hills in the Chindwara district. And took 20 years to be built. It submerged large areas of forest and agricultural land. The forest dwellers were left with nothing. Some of the displaced people settled around the reservoir, and apart from the मियाग मतलब छोटा सा farms found a livelihood in fishing. They earned very little, so they were either forest dwellers or they just earned through fishing. A dam is built across a river at sites where one can collect a lot of water. This forms the reservoir, and as the water collects, it submerges vast areas of land. This is because the wall of the dam across the river is high and the water spreads over a large area. This is a photo of submersion caused by the Tehri Dam in Uttarakhand. The old Tehri town and 100 villages, some totally and some partially, were submerged by this dam. Nearly 1 lakh people were displaced. So for building even Tehri Dam, 1 lakh people, you know, had been displaced, and their 100 villages. And the old Tehri town, they all were submerged by this dam. This is a photo of Tehri. What is the issue of Tawa Matsya Sangh fighting for? They're fighting for their displacement because they've been displaced for up to now. It's been, of course, more than 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And so they are the forest dwellers of the Satpura forest, and to build a dam on Tawa river, they had been displaced, moved from there, and they depended on forest and fishing for their livelihood. Why did the villagers set up these organizations? It's because they were fighting for the rights of the displaced forest dwellers. Okay, do you think that large scale participation of villagers has contributed to the success of the Taba Matsya Sang? Write 2 lines on, and why do you think? So we'll study whether the protest and everything was successful or not. In 1994, the government gave the rights of fishing in the Tawa reservoir to private contractors. These contractors drove the local people away and got cheap labor from outside. The contractors began to threaten villagers who did not want to leave by bringing in hoodlums. The villagers stood united and declared that it was time to set up an organization and do something to protect their rights. The newly formed Tawa Matsya Sangh organized rallies and Chakka Jam road blockade, demanding their rights to continue fishing for their livelihood. In response to the protest, the government created a committee to assess the issue. The committee recommended that fishing rights be granted to the villagers for their livelihood. 1996, the Madhya Pradesh government decided to give the people displaced by Tawa Dam the fishing rights of the reservoir. A 5-year lease agreement was signed 2 months later. On January 2, 1997, people from 33 villages Tawa started the new year with the fresh catch. With the Tawamatse taking over, the fish workers were or taking over, the fish workers were able to increase their earnings substantially. This was because they set up cooperatives which would buy the catch from them at a fair price. The cooperatives would then arrange the transport and sell these in the market, which they would get a good price. They have now begun to earn 3 times more than they earned earlier. The TMS has also begun giving fish workers loan for repair and buying a new nets. By managing to earn a higher wage as well as preserving the fish in the reservoir. The TMS has shown that when people's organization get their rights to livelihood, they can be good managers. So they're talking about how the people came together and protested against their rights. Firstly, so they had been displaced, and then the big corporates were given fishing rights, who as these people who were already displaced, or some who were even just staying on the outskirts of the dam, they were not being allowed to fish, so they moved to court. And finally they they protested and everything, and finally the government gave them a lease agreement, 5-year lease agreement to do the fishing rights, and then they formed their cooperatives, and now they got three times better the pricing than they would get earlier. So, members of the TMS protesting at the rally above, a member cooperative weighing the fish. So you can see the fish is catch. Can you think of an incident in which your life, in which one person or a group of people came together to change an unequal situation? So can you think of another unequal situation which in a group of incident, came in a life? So I can tell like one, for example, like I was in class maybe uh, 11, 12, then that Nirbhaya can't happened. Okay, Nirbhaya gang rape happened, unfortunately. So everybody had protested, even not only me, not only even ask of parents or anybody, so the entire country, India, they protested, and finally there were changes in the this punishments for the victims of rape. And there the situation of rape culture somewhat changed in India also. The punishments which the this thing, who's been accused of rape, and who's been guilty of the rape, the law changed and better laws came in, and there was whole this discussion of security of women that started. So it brought about a change. Okay, so creative expression against inequality. People of one person or a group of people came together. Mm, Land first, join us. I can't read this. 2004, Ekta Parishad. While some join protests to fight inequality, others might use their pen or their voice or their ability to dance to draw attention to the issues of inequality. Writers, singers, dancers, artists have always been active in the fight against. There are different ways how you can show it protest. Often poems, songs, stories can also inspire us and make us believe strongly in an issue, or and influence our efforts to correct the situation. So that's how it can be done. Adaptation of a song written as part of the Right to Information campaign by Vinay Mahajan. The right to know. Okay, so this is a poem. My dream has a right to know why for centuries they have been breaking. Why don't they ever come true? My hands have the right to know why do they remain without work all along? Why do they have nothing to do? My feet have the right to know why from village to village they walk on their own. Why are there no signs of a bus yet? My hunger has a right to know why grains rots in godowns while I don't even get a fistful of rice. Fistful matlab mutti. My old mother has a right to know why there are no medicines, needles, dispensaries, or bandages. My children have the right to know why do they labor day and night. Why is there no school in sight? So this is a poem, right to know. He's saying that I have the right, मतलब मेरा अधिकार है जानने का. And then you can see he's talking about that. Why don't they have, buses? Why don't they have anything to work? Why don't they have good medicines? And why do people have to if small children have to work so much and they have no opportunity as such to go to school? What is your favorite line in the above song? What does the poet mean when he says my hunger has the right to know? He's saying hunger has the right to know. That means that I'm not able the अगर मतलब जो मुझे भूख लग रही है. So this person is saying that why the my hunger, मेरी जो भूख है, it has the right, I have the right to know that why there's so many food, extra storage reserved food that is being, when we say rot, is that जो rot मतलब खराब होना, it is being खराब हो रहा go down में, but अब मेरे पास एक मुट्ठी नहीं है खाना. So there's so many people who sleep hungry at night, and so many people who die because they don't have anything to eat in India every day. So this person is saying that I have the full right to question and the full right to know it. Okay, the Indian Constitution as a living document. So we'll talk about our Indian Constitution here, the foundation of all movement for justice and for inspiring and inspiration for all poetry and songs on equality is a recognition that all people are equal. As you know, the Indian Constitution recognizes the equality of all persons. Movements and struggles for equality, struggles for equality in India continuously refer to the Indian Constitution to make their point about equality and justice for all. The fisher folks in the Tava Matsya Sangh hope that the provisions of the Constitution will become a reality through the participation in this movement. By constantly referring to the Constitution, they use it as a living document. Whenever there's anything protest or a doubt or an interpretation, they all every time we look back to our Constitution, and that is why it is called as a living document. That is something that has real meaning in our lives. In a democracy, there are always communities, individuals trying to expand the idea of democracy, push for a greater recognition of equality on existing as well as new issues. So here you can see, this is a lady who's singing in the protest. Over 1,500 person attended a public hearing in Lucknow in 2001 to protest violence against women. Over 15 cases of violence against women were heard by a jury of eminent women who played the role of judges. This people's jury helped highlight the lack of support in the legal system for women who seek justice in such cases. Okay, so then we have issues of equality are central to the democracy. The basic idea of democracy is the equality, which every person has right to. And in this book, we've tried to highlight issues that pose a challenge to this idea of equality in a democracy. These, as you've read, include the privatization of health services in the country, in the increasing control that business houses exert on the media, the low value given to women and their work, and the low earnings made by small farmers who grow cotton. These issues substantially affect the poor and marginalized communities, and therefore concern you know economic and social equality in the country. What is the role of constitution plays in people's struggle for equality? Can you make up a social advertisement on equality? You can do this in small groups, so you can try it in small groups. This is a core of the struggle for equality in a democracy. Dignity and self-respect of each person and the community can only be realized if they have adequate resources to support and nurture their families, and if they are not discriminated against it. So that is just this I think there. And 122. So this chapter was basically, it has summarized or what all we studied, and about all the different, forms of inequality that we saw in the previous chapters, whether it was about the farmer, the domestic worker, or women who are working in your family as and doing the household work. So they are different forms of inequality. Some are recognized, some are not recognized in so here is a map of India. So you can see this is a tropic of Cancer line passing, it passes through. We've already did it in a previous class, but we can do it again. See, it passes through Gujarat, it passes through Rajasthan, it passes through Madhya Pradesh, it passes through Chhattisgarh. Does it pass? No. Chhattisgarh, it passes through Jharkhand, it passes through West Bengal, it passes through Agartala, it passes through Tripura, it passes through Aizawl, and that's it. So how many there? One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9. So I'm sorry, it only passes through 8 Indian states. Okay, it doesn't passes through 9. There was some confusion. I'm sorry. So we've done this chapter. So by mistake, I just included Bangladesh area also. I'm sorry for that. They are just that's why there was a confusion, because I clearly remember we did it in one of the wait. Let me see. We did the map thing in one of the chapters, and then we counted. I think it was a sixth, maybe sixth standard, and there were only 8 Indian states that was passing through the Tropic of Cancer line. So I'm sorry for that. And yeah, we can just see this if you want. Right to information, the basic aim of right to information act is to empower the aim is behind is to empower the citizens, promote transparency and accountability in the working of the government, uh, contain to contain corruption and make a democracy work for the people in real sense, make them believe, that yes, democracy is there, and that too in the real sense, not only in the books. You can seek necessary information about various activities. You can seek through an through an RTI application, and how to apply. The application can be made on a plain paper, submitting it along with fees to the public information officer of the department concerned. You may also send it through the post. So now there is an online, this thing, portal matlab website, where you can actually get information. Application fee, you need to pay an application fee of rupees 10 through cash on demand, draft IPO, or banker's check for information on matters related to the central government departments. The fee is different for the state government departments. So if you want for something for the central government information, then it's just 10 rupees, whereas for the state, various state governments, the price may differ. I'm sorry, it's not price, it's application fee. The words, when I say price, it means a different thing. When I say application fee, it is different. So words have to be very careful. And I'm sorry if I you misuse use wrong words sometimes, because I'm also human, and words might not just click on my mind at that moment. So I'm sorry for that, but I'll try to avoid such things. So guys, we've done this chapter. Sorry, we've done this completed this book. And if you have any questions, or we should discuss some issue further, then we can do it. You can always comment down or email me for any kind of information. And yeah, till then guys, take care of yourself and be happy, stay healthy, and live life. Bye.